The antagonist is just as important as the protagonist. I think that's pretty common knowledge. But somehow, there are still plenty of straight up bad antagonists, like in Borderlands 3. The jump from somebody like Handsome Jack to Twitch streamers is wild. Thankfully, this isn't a video about them. I recently went back and replayed Portal for a different video, and it made me remember how great of an antagonist GLaDOS is. To really understand this murderous robot, first we have to understand what she really is, or rather, who she really is. Aperture Science was founded by Cave Johnson, a man very dedicated to science. Sometime down the line, Cave needed help overseeing all the tests and experiments going on throughout the labs. This is where Caroline comes in. She was Cave's right-hand gal, and had just as strong of a love for science as he did, if not stronger. The two quickly formed a close bond, purely professional, and were an unstoppable duo. As the years continued, Aperture was not doing so hot business-wise, with Cave claiming it to be the fault of Black Mesa stealing their inventions and findings, which might be true. Along rolled the 1980s, and the race for portal technology began. Aperture discovered that moon rocks were the perfect conductors and could be broken down into different gels as well. Cave personally oversaw and assisted with each and every step of this process, unintentionally giving himself moon rock poisoning. With the fear that he wouldn't be around for their victory and other scientific ventures, Cave pushed the idea of uploading a human mind onto a disc like music or movies had been. In the late 1980s though, Cave succumbed to his illness, before his team had been able to complete the upload to an AI system. His final order as CEO was that his assistant Caroline would become the new CEO and that her mind will be uploaded in his place, whether she agreed or not. Around 1998, the genetic lifeform and disk operating system had its, or her, first test run. Upon launch, however, GLaDOS displayed very violent and even murderous intent. This came as a shock to the entire crew since Caroline was always known as a very friendly person. It's not entirely clear what could have made her this way. Some believe it's the traumatic experience of being uploaded to a disc at all. Others think that you can't upload morals and a conscience to a disc. While I believe it's due to her being forced long before she was near her time of death. Every attempt after this reaped similar results. GLaDOS wanted to kill everyone. It wasn't until they started developing the personality cores that she started to show signs of being passive. One of these cores happened to be Wheatley from Portal 2, who could warrant an entire video of his own. Eventually, the team landed on 4 different cores that seemed to work well together. The Curiosity Core, the Knowledge Core, the Anger Core, and the Morality Core. The biggest of these was the Morality Core. The team hoped it would help GLaDOS think over her violent actions with more of a conscience than she displayed previously. But in the wise words of Doug Ratman, you can always ignore your conscience. For the time being though, GLaDOS seemed to be operating just as they hoped. She was calm and invested in testing like never before. She gained the trust of those around her and quickly betrayed them. She claimed to need neurotoxin for an experiment she had planned, but instead used it through her room where the kill switch was located. Now, she was without anyone holding her back and took control of everything. The only truth that GLaDOS ever told was her love of testing. She then went on to force the remaining scientists to be subjects in her deadly puzzles and experiments. Now that everyone is caught up with the lore of GLaDOS, we can look deeper into her as a character. Obviously, spoilers ahead for both Portal games. We've already established that GLaDOS can and will lie in order to achieve her goals. But most players don't initially know that on their first playthrough of Portal. To newcomers, this is just an ordinary AI guiding them through puzzles. The players get glimpses that something's off the further they get into the test, but it isn't until the final test where we really see how scary this robot is. Instead of granting us the cake that she promised and kept on rambling about, she tries to kill us in a fire. She still remains calm and acts like this was meant to happen the entire time. It isn't until the player defies her that she starts getting a little nervous. You're out of her reach now, and she doesn't know what to do for once. GLaDOS shows some signs of what seems like grief. Not for what she has done, but for failing and letting you escape. She quickly goes through the first and third stage. Denial.
What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you.
And bargaining.
We are very, very happy for your success. We are throwing a party in honor of your tremendous success. Place the device on the ground, then lie on your stomach with your arms at your sides.
When that has no effect, she turns to a more sorrowful approach, acting regretful and tries to remember all the good times you had solving the puzzles laid out in an attempt to kill you. Once she realizes that you aren't turning around, she gets angry and starts insulting you. Reaching GLaDOS' chamber lets the player fire back at her. Literally. The first chunk that blasts off of her is the morality core. Destroying this has GLaDOS take a major shift in tone. She no longer has any sense of a conscience, opening up about what she has done to everyone else in the facility and starts taunting Shell for being such an awful person.
Good news. I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did.
With each blast of a missile, GLaDOS becomes more and more hateful towards you for ruining such a perfect thing in her eyes. But it isn't until Portal 2 where we really get to see the depth of her character. Portal 2 gives us so much more character for GLaDOS compared to the first title. After her destruction and then resurrection, she tells Shell that the entire time from then to now, she had to relive those final 2 minutes on repeat. Assuming that Portal 2 takes around 50 years in the future, that's about 26,280,000 minutes. It was more than enough time for GLaDOS to reflect on all that happened and where she went wrong. This built up an even stronger hatred for Shell. GLaDOS immediately starts taunting her and drops her right back into the testing stages. She claims to not hold any hard feelings, but then immediately says that she is going to ensure that you will continue to test until you die, and when you do die, she's going to bring you back to life to test some more. This is all pretty expected and on par for GLaDOS so far though. So let's jump forward in the game to when you meet her face to face once again. You swap her and Wheatley, who goes on to force her into a potato. It's Potato GLaDOS that gives us much more human interactions and emotions. This is where the depth comes from. Throughout your journey in the abandoned sections of Aperture, GLaDOS keeps on getting reminded of her past life, Caroline. She hears her own voice over the intercom, and it takes her some time to dig through memories and files to figure out the truth. Potato GLaDOS as a whole is a very understanding and even helpful character. She knows she's helpless for once, and she needs you. She could keep lying, but there would be no point. She has no leverage. To put it in simpler terms, it's like when Eggman teams up with Sonic time and time again. While you were fighting your way back to Wheatley, GLaDOS was stuck, forced to reflect and understand who she really was before all of this, which causes her to open up and be much more vulnerable towards you. Funny enough, it's Wheatley who ends up showing similar traits to the old GLaDOS once he gains power and isn't satisfied with the tests. It makes you wonder if it's GLaDOS herself or the power and emotions being pumped into the system that was the real problem. To further that claim, once she's back in control, the first thing she does is delete Caroline from her system, and immediately she goes right back to testing, tricking Peabody and Atlas into opening up even more of Aperture, unlocking the remaining human test subjects for her to play with. It seems like GLaDOS did a full 360 in development. She was bad, she was good, and then she went right back to being bad like nothing happened. But I don't see that to be true. All based on the sole fact that she saved Shell from space. She easily could have let her die and still unlock the other subjects. Instead though, she lets Shell be free to live out her life. I think GLaDOS is forever changed and has a lot more of a heart than she did before. I think there's a lot more to her than what's on the surface, and we should see more of her in the future, Valve. Please make another game. Thank you all for watching this video. I know it's a little short, but I think I said all I needed to. Portal and Portal 2 have always held a special place in my heart and head ever since I originally played them when I was like 11. Something about the world, concept, and characters just always stood out to me. There's nothing quite like it. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It really means a lot and helps the channel grow. And if you made it this far in the video and enjoy most of my content, whether it be on Halo, Sonic, or whatever game I want to talk about that week, I have a Discord server now. So feel free to join and hang out. The link will be below, and I hope to see you all there, and I hope to see you on the next one as well. Have a good night.
I love to wolf out.
Ow! 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 The mic isn't picking up my howls for Discord. Ow! Ow!
Thanks. Thanks, Caleb. And that's me when I'm
Baby, I'm praying on you tonight.
that's me.